Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect, the podcast that's about to rock your marketing world. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're the masterminds behind Funnel Gorgeous and FG Funnels. We're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. We'll chat mouth-watering offers, copy, design, and give you an inside look of some of our best and worst funnels. No smoke and mirrors, just real strategies that work from two ladies who have been around the funnel block. So grab your coffee or something stronger, we won't judge, and get ready to unleash the gorgeous effect on your business. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to a special episode of The Gorgeous Effect. We are doing a sales conversation series, and this is episode 1. Do you have a leads problem or a sales problem? So today, Cathy and I are going to talk about leads versus sale, but we have a special guest and I want to introduce you to her. Her name is Lindsay and she is an expert in the wedding niche, but she has a superpower of sales abilities. And we wanted to bring her into our world because if she can teach wedding pros at wedding shows how to close the sale when there is tons of competition, she can also do it in our world. So Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, we are going to dive in. Kath, have you ever heard anyone say to you, okay, I totally can close the sale. I just have a leads problem. Like, I just need more webinar registrations. I just need more people in the room. I just need more people on my list. Have you ever heard people say that?
Because everyone ever, everyone says that. I mean, I think it's because it's almost like oh, I don't have time. I don't have money. It's like the easy go-to, right? Of like, oh, I just need more people. And that's all. Yeah. That's my only problem.
Yeah, even though you probably never had that many people in a room in your life. And I also say to people, like, you don't necessarily want 10,000 people in your webinar if you are not absolutely sure that your sales abilities are locked and loaded. You know what I mean? So, Lindsay, I want to ask you, when people say that to you, because I'm sure you have heard it in the wedding show industry, right? Like, oh, if I just get appointments, on my calendar, I'll close them on my offer. What do you say to them when they tell you that?
Yeah. So when people tell me that, I try to explain that leads or marketing and sales is two different skills. Leads is part of the marketing. The objective is to grab attention, to grab awareness, to get interest. But it's kind of like leads gets people in the room, but the revenue comes from what you do when they're in that room. And a lot of times people just think, I just need more people in the room. I just need more people in the room. And for what I do, I teach wedding shows. When they do a wedding show, that's a big investment. Or like if you're doing a launch and you're spending a lot on ads, that's a big investment to get leads in the room to not close them after. And a lot of times I feel like entrepreneurs kind of learn the hard way, myself included. I learned this the hard way is like I spent all of this money getting leads onto my calendar. I remember doing my first wedding show. I got leads onto my calendar and then I bombed them like every single appointment. I was like, and this was years ago. Obviously I figured it out now, but that happens more than we think because I think people are not recognizing it's two different skills, marketing and sales. And it's kind of like pouring water into a leaky bucket. Like if there's holes in your sales cycle, you can keep pouring water in, but it's going to leak out somewhere.
I think this is, I have to say, I just have to call out the elephant in the room because I feel like this is a problem with people who think that they're good at sales because they're good with people, right? They're like, oh, I'm great at sales. I'm great with people, or in the past, they've had super, super warm leads or like referrals where the transfer of trust is already intense and they close it and they think, oh, well, this is just a thing I'm good at. I don't really need to learn this. I need to learn the Instagram algorithm.
To be fair, This is like with people, if you build it, they will come, right? Oh, I put it out on the internet and nobody bought it. What do you mean? No one came? Like I built it. It's live. And we're like, well, that's part of it. Yes, you do need to have it out on the internet, but just because you have it out there doesn't mean it's going to sell. We get this similar thing with funnels, right?
Yeah, that's such a good point, Cathy, that it's just part of it. Like leads are step 1 in your sales cycle, but you have to go all the way through to the close, and people stop at step 1 because, Julie, they think because I'm good with people or not even, I kind of want to rephrase that because you can be very outgoing and charismatic, like the stereotypical sales personality, right? But you still could not be great with people because you're actually kind of like a bulldozer in a room. I've seen this, and it's just I love this conversation about personalities because you can have such a strong presence and personality, but you're not actually listening to the person, noticing objections, noticing hesitations. So I actually see sometimes that the opposite personality type, introverts or even worriers, which is like myself. I think that's why I'm so good at sales because I worry so much and I'm more of an introvert that I know all the objections that can come up. I see the hesitations. It's almost like, oh my gosh, they're, mad at me or like second guessing or something like, when those personalities comes up. So I actually see that personality is stronger at sales.
Yeah, this is like a bad news, good news situation. I think what we're identifying here when people they're mistaken, that they think they just need more leads, is that they think it's inherent personality. So the bad news is if you are super extroverted and you're great with people and you think you don't have a sales problems because all your leads have closed and they've been, warm, hot leads or transfer trust, it's probably a skill that you actually do need, because the minute you go in a cold traffic environment, right, in the DMs or on a webinar, and all of a sudden you can't close, you're going to wonder like, what the heck happened to my personality? But the good news is, for everyone who thinks maybe I'm not a natural salesperson, or I am an introvert, or I'm shy or whatever, what we're saying is this isn't about personality. This is an actual skill that can be learned, that can be taught, no matter what your personality is, which is really, I think that is good news.
It's interesting, kind of what you said about thinking through what you used to like, right? Like, well, I used to get warm people in a room and I used to this and and it's like, okay, well now it kind of doesn't matter what used to happen. I mean, there's like we all talk about like the good old days, right? And so I think even more than ever, this is important because trust is at an all-time low, right? And I think, and warm leads even are at maybe an all-time low, right? So this has to be a skill that you can do with someone that you just met, that's a cold traffic. It's not, because this transfer of trust is getting less and less, right?
Yeah, that is such a good point, Cathy. I think like the market's changing. I think especially with AI, with so many scripts and so many like, even like the old school sales tactics, people just see right through that stuff. And it's more about trust. It's more about the real-time conversations back and forth. It's less of like a one-sided conversation anymore, which I think does well for that personality type that can like own a room and they're not shy to sell, but the back and forth conversation lacks a little bit there.
I love to talk about this like choreography, and we use that word all the time in webinars. And the reason I like this is because whether you're a good dancer or a bad dancer, choreography helps, right? So whether you're good at sales or bad at sales, the right personality, the wrong, it doesn't matter, right? If I take someone like Cathy, who's a great dancer, and I give her choreography, she's just gonna look even better, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be even cooler. If I take someone who's not a great dancer and I teach them basic choreography, they're gonna be able to do the dance with Cathy. Now, maybe they won't be quite as like amazing as Cathy, but they're gonna be able to do the dance. And that's what sales is. It's a choreography, and it's not an unethical choreography or a sleazy choreography. It's independent of your personality. And if you've gotten away with not learning sales choreography because of your business background, meaning you had a lot of referrals or you have, natural charisma or whatever, you've probably never learned choreography. And those are the people that once they learn it, like their sales absolutely explode because now they have charisma and choreography, right? It's like the good dancer who has the choreography. And that's why this is like good news. We can all learn this, and we need to because sales are hard these days.
Yes, yes. I love that. It's a mix between choreography and also like learning the cadence as you're going. I actually I sent Cathy and Julie a Voxer message the other day. I was reading a book and he was saying something about learning to drive is less of a skill and more, I'm going to butcher this. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's less of like an actual skill when you're driving and more of an art, right? So it's like understanding, like how to be aware of other drivers and how to course correct without panicking and how to just, like understand who else is on the road. I think that's a really important part of sales too. It's the choreography, and then it's also there's a rhythm to it, there's a cadence to it, and it's absolutely teachable. Absolutely teachable.
Yeah, it's almost like a plan, but then you know when to adapt or how to adapt, right? Of like how to tweak when it doesn't go to plan, which is, I guess, it's kind of like just what Julie said about the choreography. It's like a good dancer. If you're just riffing and you're just like freestyling, you might make mistakes. You maybe do something awesome, but like it's kind of up to chance. You're like, you don't really know what's going to happen, right? There's like this volatility to it. Versus if you have the choreo, like you can funk up the choreo or whatever. Like, I don't mean that a bad way. I mean like in a good way. Like make it like cooler, right? But like you have like a system that you're kind of basing it on, so you can choose and you can listen to the crowd, and the crowd's going wild and they like that part, so you do more of that, right? So I love this idea of like having something that's set but then also flexible in order, to make it work with the current situation.
Using your driving analogy, I was thinking about my daughter Eden, who has had a little trouble driving. She's had a couple car accidents, but if you know how to drive, it's almost like you go into autopilot, right? Because you know the rules of the road. So now your brain is free to do all that intuitive stuff, like, watch the traffic patterns, watch what's going on, right? Because the skills you're not using, whatever. Let's just say the front part of the brain is where you're like really focused, and the back part of the brain is more like habit, just like default mode. Once you have those skills, you're in default mode with the actual skills. So you have that intuition. But if you ask someone who doesn't have the skills, they're trying to do both at once, which is why new drivers are, more reckless and more likely to get in an accident, because those skills aren't locked and loaded. They're using a lot of their prefrontal cortex to actually remember the skills, and then they have to do the intuition part. So maybe with sales, we could just say like, hey, you got to learn the sales skills, right? That's like the science. That's the foundation. You need to know them so well that you actually don't have to think about them. That way you're free to do all of that intuitive stuff. That's really the difference between like whether you're an amazing salesperson or just an okay salesperson.
Yeah, that is spot on, Julie. And I remember, so quick little background, I do a weekly webinar in my business. I've been doing it about 18 months now. And I continue to, like, my conversion rate is pretty good on this weekly webinar. And people were asking like, what are you doing? How are you teaching it? And of course I can teach that, right? And we do teach it, but it was all of the things in between, because I had the webinar so locked down that the majority of my sales actually comes at the end in the Q&A when I'm having those real life conversations, because everything else is so locked in that I have like that mental space to even recognize like, oh, that was an objection, or they're worried about that. Let me ease their worry, or let me explain this, or see if they're the right fit. It's all of those in between moments. That's so good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think the takeaway here is that if you find yourself saying, I don't have a sales problem, I just need more leads, you may want to double check that. If you have not had formal sales skills training and learned the choreography of sales, that's sort of the foundational science part, because there's also all of this other stuff that I'm excited to explore with you, Lindsay, the intuitive, the art part, the part that really makes the difference when, I tell people, oh, Lindsay, is my client and she's closing 25, 30%. I mean, those numbers are unheard of. But like you said, it's because all of those foundational skills are locked and loaded. You know the presentation like the back of your hand, and you're able to actually, navigate, like Cathy said, in the dance routine. If people are really like, pump it to the music here, you can go deeper there because you can sense it, because you have the bandwidth. And it's not a personality thing. Oh my gosh, it's not a personality thing.
Yes. Yeah. And I also too want to talk about like just the math for a second, because I know some people are like emotional thinkers, right? So they can kind of buy into the whole like, telling stories and human psychology and all that. But there's also a lot of logical thinkers. And for me, like when I realized the steps of my sales cycle and the money I was spending in different areas of the sales cycle, it really became so clear to me how much work I had to do on the sales part, because I was spending money to get those leads in, right? So say you spend money on ads to get 1,000 leads in and your conversion rate is 2% or something, right? Like you need to improve that. If you can improve that conversion rate to 10% with the same 1,000 people, I want you to just do the math for a second. Like it makes such a difference, especially now in this economy while we're, maybe some businesses have struggled in 2025. I feel like we think of like different areas where we could make more revenue, cut down on expenses, just do the math. And if you can tighten up that one spot in your sales cycle, sales, and not necessarily feel like, well, if I can just spend more money on ads, if we had more budget on ads, or I don't have the budget on ads, sometimes that's not the answer. It's
not
actually
the answer,
the sales part.
Yeah, it's the least controllable part of the entire funnel, right? This is the most controllable part. This is the part that we can do. So this is awesome. All right, what we're going to do in the next episode, so be sure to tune in, is we're going to talk about AI and scripts and sales. Has AI cracked the code? Do we have a golden sales script? And that's coming in next in our special episode series on sales conversations. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
If you're sitting there thinking, I need more of this, good news, we're doing a live free class where we're diving even deeper into all of this. It's called Easiest Yes, and we're going to show you exactly how to make selling feel natural instead of pushy, how to handle objections without getting defensive, and how to close more sales, whether you're on the phone, running a webinar, or writing emails. The class is completely free, and if you come live, you can ask us questions directly. Head over to easiestyes.com to grab your spot. That's easiestyes.com. We will see you there.